Hello, community. Oh, that's a Blender today. We had a new open movie projects premiering today. We have Francesco.
Yes.
You mentioned something about the project, about Pet Project. When did it start officially?
So we started, I think the very first discussions we had about the project was at SIGGRAPH of 2022. The very early idea, there is even a production log about it, where Haru is filming me and Ton talking about it, how this was obviously Ton's greatest idea. And it all started from there, to have developers as cats and artists as dogs. That was the whole premise of the story, and then we took it from there and developed it further into the idea that actually turned out to be. And so from there until the end of that 2022, we were doing development, and then we started production towards the end of the year, and then went on for a few months until like 1 month ago, when the film was done. Initially, the project had a slightly smaller scope, but then, of course, as we do get excited with our production, it became a little bit bigger. But I'm super proud, super happy with how it looks like, and I look forward to for everyone to see it. So I think it's best to actually invite Rick, who is the director of the film, to say a couple of words, and then we just cut to the chase and see the film, and then chat with everyone else in the team to see what they've been doing. So. Stay tuned and keep watching, and enjoy the show.
All right, we get our first guest today. Hello.
Hey, hello.
That is your camera.
Right.
And maybe get a bit closer, because this is the one microphone that is working. This is, we have it. Just keep it for the looks.
Got it.
Just to look fancy.
Hey.
So.
Hi.
Hello. This is well, congratulations on the film, which people actually haven't seen yet. We're gonna. Just a bit of a schedule. We are going to talk a little bit, then play the film, and then interview the rest of the team. It's not that you have to wait for everybody to talk. So just a brief introduction to Pet Projects, also known as Wing It, or are there more Pet Projects? How is Pet Projects born?
So it was initially pitched as a project that would be part of a series. And it was pitched initially as a 1-minute short, couple of months production. And I pitched a story that was roughly 4 to 5 minutes. So in the end, it turned out to be 3 minutes. So will there be another version of it? Who knows? Maybe in the future it will be part of a follow-up. Yeah, we'll see.
Cool. I'm also interested to hear about your first time directing an open movie project.
Yeah, so before this I was mostly doing animation, lead animator, and the experience of first time director was a massive learning experience. I'm super proud of what we made as a team at Blender, and I was super happy that I had people next to me, Hjalti, Andy, that definitely helped me out with the process of creating the story. And we had many versions, many beginnings, many endings, but and ultimately, there's at some point you start second guessing everything. But what we have right now, I'm super proud of. I'm very happy with, and I can't wait to show it. So.
Yeah, it is going to be a first for Blender to have this kind of style, right? Like that was kind of the big thing, one of the topics for each open movie project, because it's funded by Blender Studio subscribers who also help Blender development, is to push Blender in some way. And this one, the focus was like super cartoon, and
for me it was basically a follow-up from Sprite Fright, where we already went into more stylized animation using grease pencil for additional effects, and I wanted to go back to the 90s and 2000s cartoons, where we marry 2D effects and 3D animation together even more with the style. And I think with grease pencil, with geometry nodes, there's a lot of new tech in here that the first time I saw these tests, I was like, oh my gosh, we're really up to something new here. So it's super exciting.
It is quite exciting. We have here paparazzi in the background. what do you think? Is a movie ready to watch? Let me go to Blender Studio website. No,
You want to publish? One more minute.
I think in one more minute.
One
We have
minute,
here
yeah.
people waiting
Look at
for
this.
it, and we
Holding their breath.
have the studio page. By the way, if you want to, the movie is not gonna premiere in this channel. We're actually going to premiere on the Blender Studio channel because it's a Blender Studio project. So if you want to go there, just for time, just use this time to go subscribe there. It's youtube.com/Blender Studio. There we can also find the production logs, which there has been uploaded frequently, and there should be one more, right? I think right now that's what we are recording.
Yep.
Production logs. That was pretty nice to see also the progress. Have you looked back at these production logs?
I have, yes, and it's great because for me, working at Blender and seeing the work that we do, it's really how would you say it, unfiltered in a way.
Yeah.
Whereas we at Blender we don't have like investors or people that we need to make slick. Like, of course we have the community, but we want to share like the real deal, And making a movie is struggling, is not making deadlines, or like really blood, sweat, and tears to make it work. And I hope that that's something that is unique to the production logs that we make here. Yeah.
Let's see how the last one comes out.
Yes.
We have 6, so we will do 7.
Shall we?
Wait, shall we?
Yeah.
Shall?
Right.
Oh my gosh!
do
I
it.
think it's happening. Chat, how are you? Chat, where are you? Here. We have you here on the screen, by the way.
Okay.
If you have any questions, drop them here. Now it works now, so you're too quiet.
That's it? Refresh?
Really?
Yeah.
No way. Refresh? I need to refresh harder.
You do?
Videos? Did you was it on the right channel?
Then you go to the chat and paste the link.
Latest? Latest? Let's go to home. Open movies, not in the open movies. The videos should be in the latest videos.
Okay, I'm gonna paste the link in the chat.
Oh
Okay.
my god. Suspense is killing me.
Yes.
Did you get the link?
The link, where did you
There
put
it is.
Oli, it's here.
You have
Okay,
sound?
so we do have sound. So how do we do it? We
Turn off the lights.
turn off the lights, yes. And this one. And we're gonna watch it here, but you are not going to watch it from here. You go at home. I'm talking to you, chat, by the way. Go to the link that we just pasted, or on Blender Studio channel, and you're gonna see the reaction if you get to see anything from the people here. So enjoy. Hello, chat. I hope you didn't watch it here, like from the little screen in the corner. We gave you the link. You have to go watch it full screen. Otherwise, it wouldn't do justice to see it here all choppy. So if you haven't yet, go to the Blender Studio channel and get it there. You can see the credits, of course. We're gonna see some behind the scenes now with the team. We're gonna be interviewing each one of them. And of course, you can get all the files available on the Blender Studio website, of course. I saw the full video. Awesome. Hjalti sounds right. How do people find out that Hjalti was sound? I'm gonna watch it 200 times to be sure. Where is the link? Watch here. The link. Let's share the link again, just in case. Here, in case you haven't watched it. There, I spammed it. Hjalti sounds right. Yeah, it's a very cool cartoon. It was awesome to watch it with you, for free. Yes, for free. Also, this was actually the splash screen of Blender 3.6, which is already out with the splash. Although those characters are outdated compared to the ones that are going to be available starting today on the Blender Studio characters library page and the studio, the actual page for the project. So I think we're in good shape to start and kick off this with our first guest for today. Sounds like a TV show. We have Fiona here.
Hello.
Let's see. Let's go to the right one. There you go. Nice. So this is you. We're sharing this microphone.
All right. Lots of complaints about the sound.
Yeah, sounds is difficult.
Yeah, it is. That's not our job. That's not what we do.
Yeah, exactly right.
Apart from Hjalti, he does voices, but
yeah,
he does.
So, it is super nice to have you here. To have you over. You joined. You're listed as producer of the project, but you actually joined halfway. You joined Blender when the project was already started, right?
Yes. I joined in February, and I think the pitch was done, the storyboard was almost done, and then some assets were already. I think the cat and the dog were already modeled. Yeah.
So
pretty far in.
Yeah, but also you just finished another project, a feature film project.
Oh
as
yeah.
well,
Yeah.
in another studio.
Yeah.
Also with Blender.
Yes.
How was it to go from that to here and with a different team altogether?
Well, I've worked in different studios, so like working with different teams, I've done that. But the Blender studio is specific, right? Because we work on the edge of the technology. No, Blender never crashes. But so there's that, and also the artists are quite, different. Yeah.
Different.
Yeah, you're one of them yourself, so
Yeah, but it's different. Good.
yeah, of course it's different. Good. It's like more technical people, but also for a very small team. So it makes people are more generalists here that I'm used to. So I had to learn how everyone works, and what everyone does specifically. I knew a bit about people I had met at the conference or seen on the website, but it took me a while to figure out why are you working on this and not on that? No?
Oh.
Yeah.
How big was the team?
For this?
Yeah.
Oh, we were a dozen people. Not it was only the internal team plus Macbo from the United States, and Nick, who joined us as TD also during the spring, and who is on the chat from Canada. Yeah. He's been waving at Rick and Sibren. We see the spirit. So, if I'm not mistaken, we only had 2 people outside of the internal team, and then our composer Mariana and the sound team also from Utrecht, with Sander directing it. So
Sander was in Utrecht here in the Netherlands, and Mariana?
Yes, Mariana, she was in LA.
In LA? Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
So working different time zones must be
Yes.
great.
Yeah. Well, just one different time zone, or all in the Americas. At least it's easier than one in China and one in the Americas.
For sure.
Yeah.
So
Well, I actually want to, like, that was the goal of me coming in. Give a big shout out to Mariana because we loved working with her, and it's the first time that we had a live orchestra, like live instruments for an open movie.
Yeah.
She even
That's in one of the production logs.
yeah,
Right?
she even recorded some videos of it happening. And she sent us even a little gift.
Hey.
It's made by her sister, and I know the focus is not on it, but you can see our two
Yeah. Take it a bit
characters.
closer. I think the focus is no, here.
Here.
Yeah,
Closer
yeah.
to me.
Yes.
Up, up, up. Yeah.
That's so nice. So it's the actual.
Yeah. She sent us a gift of her actual music sheet with her characters and like them messing with the music to remember her by. And I know that Rick enjoyed working with her very much. They really worked well together, and you can see a bit of it there.
There you go.
Mm.
So as a live orchestra.
Yeah.
It's the very first time from an open movie.
Yeah.
And you.
Well, it's a
It's-
music-driven movie, like more than usual. So it was it made a lot of sense to invest time and money and energy into that. We are a lot of musicians here at the studio ourselves. So obviously we enjoyed it very much too. Yeah. And obviously the work that Sander has been doing, it's not the first time that the studio is working with him for the sound design. And I know that Rick had a lot of fun. Hjalti had a lot of fun doing the voices, but Rick had a lot of fun seeing the movie take a new... Mariana!
It's there. Hi.
Ay, ay, ay. So yeah, well, the team is connected.
Yeah.
You can see it here.
So.
So yeah, a big teamwork. It's not just the people at the HQ. Yeah.
No, for sure. So thank you. Wait. What's next for you? You're already working on a next
Yeah,
open movie
we're-
project.
Well, yeah, on what we announced a few weeks ago now, Gold. Yeah.
Cool. That is the only project for the team has to.
For now, yes. Yeah. I mean, we're doing other things, obviously, because, for example, we don't have animation right now. So
Yeah.
what are Publico and
Yeah.
gonna be doing, But yes, that's the sole open movie for now.
All right.
Yeah.
Awesome. And,
Thank you.
And the files for this and the preparation, the tutorials, the training, the documentation.
Exactly, sharing on the studio website, and I know that Matt is going to talk a bit more about what's going to happen on the studio website, what we're going to be sharing. But obviously, the goal is always to show how we've been working. So a bit more is going to come on the studio in the next weeks. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Well,
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, our next guest. Our next guest, you already know him. He was the director of the Dweebs of Agent 327. He also voiced many of the characters. He was a main voice character, director / animator / animation director / layout /
Too many things.
Yeah.
Yes.
But how is it? What do you do in this project?
I was helping out with the story just a little bit, just to be on the sideline with Rick. But mostly I was in charge of the editorial, previs, and layout.
And so
Yeah. I'm always the person that ends up doing the
interesting.
layout.
Yeah. Even using the video sequence editor for all of it.
Exactly. Always, forever and always.
Always.
Yeah.
So, what is from all the jobs that you did, which one is the one you enjoy the most
On this project.
on this project?
There's something amazing about doing the previs. It's so difficult because you're doing so many hypotheticals where you just don't have the answers.
No.
You really don't know, and you're trying to figure it out. But it's just about problem solving and making sure that as you create something, it's disposable. Mentally, that's a challenge to just be the kind of artist that's okay at making something disposable, and then later you come back, you put the puzzle pieces together, and then you realize, I should have done that differently, and then you improve it, and so you put on like a different mindset and you start improving it. That being said, once you get into layout, if you do your job properly in previs, in layout you're using all the like all the proper props and characters and everything. Like everything has been now fully fleshed out, so you can kind of just coast on the hard work of the previous.
Yeah.
And just kind of go with the flow, and everything clicks together, and that's something so beautiful about that. But that's only if you did a lot of hard work in the previous.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, and I did the voice for the dog.
Is that a, like, do you already know from the beginning? It's like, I'm gonna end up doing the sound for this one?
I had no idea. All I knew was that I was put in charge at like taking all the different storyboards and drawings and whatnot, and putting them together into an edit, trying to kind of figure out the rhythm of it and the angles and all that stuff. And as I'm doing it, I need more and more sound effects, just temporary sound effects, just something to give it life, and also to see if a joke lands or not.
Yeah.
Like sometimes a joke will land only if the sound effect is like more or less the right one and it hits at the right moment. But that also goes with the vocals. Like a joke will be that the vocals are funny, but if you have nothing, then you don't know. So I asked, I think I asked Rick, like, okay, I need to put some vocals in it. Do you have something in mind? And he's like, no, not really. And then I just did it as a temporary measure. And
Really?
then and then by the end of the project, I think Rick just said, can you just be the dog at this point? I guess.
Yeah. Do you mind?
Yeah, exactly. And I think you will find that it is quite similar to the dog in the Daily Dweeps.
Yeah.
It wasn't intentional. It's just I went for a familiar sound and I don't know. And then I just never ended up going somewhere else.
Kind of also reminds me of Gordo crying in Caminando Street.
Yes.
Yeah.
The llama, the crying llama,
Crying llama.
all very similar.
Yeah.
One trick pony. I'm sorry.
I mean, if it works, it works.
Well, I also did the grunts of a 60-year-old Icelandic man in a dystopia in the film Charge.
In charge,
So-
yes.
The range is amazing. It's basically a goofy dog or an old man grunting.
Or a crying llama, or sprites. Do you do any sprites?
Yes, accidentally. So because I was in charge of the editorial there, I just did like a kind of a throwaway recordings of me going or whatever, for the various sprites in the background, just something kind of creepy and weird. And it was always meant to be replaced. And then when Sander, our sound designer, was putting everything together, and he had a version that had been vetted by Matthew, I listened to it, and to my shock and horror, there was my voice, duplicated multiple times in a creepy way.
Yeah.
I think he pitched me up slightly just to make it extra creepy. So I don't know, it's funny.
What's next for you? There in in gold.
Oh yeah, the next project. I'm in charge of the previs right now,
Yeah.
so I'm kind of throwing science at the wall and see what sticks a little bit, and just kind of following Jerica's leads in any different kind of shots that she needs for each scene, and then she's in charge of the editorial, of course.
And something in between, some new Dweeps episode.
Yeah, exactly. No, I have no time. I have a child now.
You have
so,
your little Dweep now.
yeah, exactly.
You're on the-
By the way, speaking of the sprite sound, my wife, who she's not really into cartoons or anything, she watched Sprite, and one of her remarks afterwards was, "Where did that creepy sound come from? Ugh, it really creeps me out, the sound of those guys." And I was like, "Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. It didn't come from me."
No. I first time I hear this.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. You also did rigging. Like, I'm looking at your folder, by the way.
Yes, exactly. So at that phase, this was early on. We didn't really have a set that was.
That's it.
Oh no! Okay, no.
Blow on them.
Oh, blow. Okay. Sorry.
Who's gonna speak?
I'm okay.
Trick.
It's
Yeah, exactly. I'm just gonna put this down right now.
Yeah.
Enjoy it later. No, about this thing that we're watching right now. So the rocket itself, I needed to figure out a way of being able to recreate some of the shots that we needed, but in a kind of a cartoony way where the set could be a little bit more elastic. And I think at that point, Demeter, our amazing rigger, he was completely busy with doing the characters. And I did not have a final rocket design handed to me. All I had was like more of a preliminary thing. So I just took that and I created my own internal version. So there's two sets. There's the internal rocket and the external one, and they do not match up. So it's one of those cartoony trickery, like the house is bigger on the inside. What?
That's the magic of cinema.
Illusions.
I think we're running out of time.
Yeah,
We're
all
gonna-
right,
gonna
okay.
go
Thank you
enjoy
so
your-
much. Oh, thank you so much. See you guys. Bye.
All right, now we have another guest. Let's see. So the sound is it's bad, but the croquettes look awesome. Is that what? Huh? Yes, it is time. I'm trying to find out what's the issue with the audio. Chat, tell me. Is it like a crackling sound? Because that I don't know if I can fix that. Unfortunately.
I think it might be that the computer is, when you play the video and use the scene at the same time, it might be too much for it to stream, compose, and then stream to YouTube.
All right. So maybe I can, I can avoid playing videos.
You can look at the. Can you look at the CPU usage?
But I think
Yeah.
I don't know how to use this computer. If you can do it yourself. Sorry, chat. Just a moment.
But yeah, we should have used the beefier computer.
Technical issues.
Well, this is Sebastian. He's the person we call when we have technical issues. So
Yeah.
it only makes sense to showcase his talents right now.
Well, yeah, we're maxing one CPU core.
We're maxing on CPU.
Yeah.
Aye, aye,
So we chose
aye.
a potato to stream.
Yeah, we had the beefier one, but I told Francesco, it's like, it's
I
fine.
know.
So,
I know you wouldn't expect that one live stream would be.
but yeah, you have.
2023. Come on.
Let's see. So yeah, OBS.
Okay, so maybe what can we do instead? We're streaming at 30 FPS. It's not even that high res.
No, it's not. Is the audio better now? Yeah, audio is better now. So
Audio is better, yeah, but not playing any videos.
yeah, so I think that's probably the issue, that
Yeah.
we're compositing stuff in OBS and
Yeah.
then playing back video and streaming at the same time, recoding it to YouTube.
So we'll have to imagine everything that we're going to be talking about.
So
We'll try our best. Use the GPU. There is no GPU. If you look at this is one of those Intel NUCs that it's
yeah,
just.
I mean, we should have tested it before. I guess.
Luckily, our next guest is likely to have more images than videos, and that we can handle
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah, I think it's basically when it's trying to decode the video on the CPU as well as you're encoding and stuff. So
Yeah, turns out that these computers are not made for streaming.
I think when you have three video streams at the same time, then it's too much.
So without further ado, we can move on because now we have images. So I'm going to switch to showing images instead. So all the way from behind the curtain, we have Vivian.
Hello.
Clap, 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 clap. So, hello. I'm going to need you to speak loudly to this microphone because this one is just for the shows. And so if you can get a bit closer. And let's see. This is not your first open movie project. You've already been involved with open movies in the
Yes.
past. But what did you do in this one?
So I was crowned art director for this one. I hope you guys can hear me.
Yes.
And my main responsibility was to make the thing look coherent and make everything unified. And yeah, which was crazy with this 2D, 3D mix and all the grease pencil stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was different here compared to other the other films you worked on? Because in this one is first it's like super cartoon.
Yeah, super cartoony. And in the beginning, there was a long phase where we just worked on the characters and concept art, and we didn't yet test the style, and we couldn't verify that we can actually pull off the line work and stuff until Simon came in, and then like all the crazy rigging stuff, right? So like, it was, I'm like, can we do this? Can we do this? And nobody making promises. So, it was cool that we actually managed to pull this off at all.
I can imagine, right?
Yeah.
Like at some point you like, but also there's probably a moment where you say like, oh, we can actually do this. We can
Yeah.
actually code this.
Yeah. So this was the very first artwork I made for the pitch when we didn't yet have the setting, and it was more this like generic place.
Yeah.
And this was like an hour of frantic scribbling, and I dug this one out. I'm like, holy shit, yeah, that was the first one I made for this project. Like, it developed so much. And yeah, this one, I knew that Rick would want to show some alternative edits, so I wanted to, show this glimpse into an alternative universe where we went for this vintage UI style. Yeah. And this was on the opposite end of value, like the really crazy concept art piece that took forever to make, just to like show, like this could look awesome. But you see that I was still kind of holding back with the line work because, like we didn't know if we can actually do it, so it is rather subtle. And like if you show the next one, there was after we added the chicken and the setting of the barn, and like this is way more informed. Like all the tech stuff is like, ooh, what could a cat actually have access to? So it informed the designs. Like, yeah, look at this pile of sweet pixels.
Nice.
It's pretty good.
Well, so the
Yeah.
I mean the
It's like very stitched together, cobbled together
the
stuff.
spaceship
you
is
know?
another character. On its
Yeah,
own.
totally.
So what's this next one we have here?
This is the chicken. It's like, and you can also see that, this was the first time I actually got to sculpt the characters, like the very early versions. And at some point, Julian, of course, took over because he has all the knowledge, and like this is just smushy mesh piles. But I actually got to like use Blender a bit more on this project, which was a lot of fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
So because most of your work you do in
Yeah.
Krita.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the painting is done in Krita.
Open source,
Ooh.
by the way.
Of
Yeah.
course.
Nice. Also detachable
Yeah.
limbs and neck.
Yeah, I mean, this chicken was murdered and we added so many times, like it was in and out of the movie, but yeah. So we went a bit wild with the designs. Also, like with the barn came all the hay, which we had to figure out and like make fit into the movie. It was a lot of fun.
The styling, I
Yeah.
guess.
Oh, I actually put that in there as a segue. Simon is going to speak more about the effects, but this is my segue into the sky because I got to do these crazy high-resolution matte paintings and got to fight the distortion of when you actually put it back into the scene and then the camera move and everything. So it was wild, like, having to do that. And another crazy matte painting because we didn't really want to show the landscape blurred or anything like that because it just didn't fit into the style of the movie. So I had to paint this insanely large, cartoonified looking
Landscape.
ground mat. And yeah, this is like the different shots. Kind of map myself, for myself out, like which crop do we actually see when.
Each one is a different shot.
Yeah, each one is a different shot. And this is like a mock-up of one of the shots to like show it's like scale right. Like, oh, yeah. I also got to do the color script, and I started this one even before the story was logged, and we knew all the elements, but we knew as a dog and a cat and a barn, and they fly and then crash. So I mostly focused on like the general like blue and orange, and then it went way more complicated after we actually figured out the rest of the story.
Especially with the danger inside of the
Oh yeah.
of the
And like this thing is the actual color script, at least the latest version of it.
This is the actual
Yeah.
one that it was used.
Yeah. And we might want to figure out how to do color scripting more efficiently, like just the file management of it, because like this is insane and like constantly growing. And then today I saw in Kitsu that this was never actually finished. Like the
Oh,
color script always stayed work in progress, and eventually the movie just became the color script. There was no keeping up with the production
No.
when it came to that. No.
But do you wish you had
Yeah.
more time to?
Yeah, it's just that if you're the art director and the only 2D artist on the project,
Yeah.
just sitting back for 4 weeks and doing a color script was just straight out impossible.
Impossible.
Yeah, so it would have meant to just take time off, do a thing, ignore the rest of the production. So it always had to be this like stitch work job. Like,
Are there any Easter eggs?
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
All right, so people can start looking. Any hints on what they should look for?
Ooh, check out the title screen.
Check
The title screen,
Okay. All right.
That one.
Nice.
And yeah,
All right.
That's the stuff.
Well, thank you.
I also
you.
have one more thing to
You
share.
have one more thing to
One
show.
more thing to share. It's a
Oh,
preview of the poster. We're
the
making test
poster.
prints. So
Oh my gosh.
soon.
Soon, the
Soon.
print.
Didn't
Nice.
get done in time.
That looks awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
we might see it soon because actually every poster of every open movie project is available on our website, so you can print it if you want to have it at I don't know why someone would do that, but it's fun and people can print it and having it at home, all the open movies.
Okay.
So, thank you.
I send you, Julia.
Yes, please. All right, now we get all the way from the back of the. We have another familiar face here.
Yes.
It's not your first open movie project.
No.
For those who don't know him, is Julian Kasper. He is been working on characters for since which was your first open
Spring.
movie? Spring.
Yes.
Spring, Charge, Sprites,
Coffee run.
Coffee Run.
Yeah.
So you're a veteran now, and you are also involved with the Sculpt module.
Yes.
Key map now, also user interface. So, but let's go back and talk a bit about your work on this project. What do you do on this project?
Primarily character modeling. That was the start of it, like how it usually is. But then from there, moved on to like props and sets and a bunch of other stuff. So, yeah, working on the characters was interesting, especially coming off from coming from the previous open movie project, Charge.
Yeah.
Where it was like, okay, we gotta keep it like really realistic and very. It's very. The scope is already defined, and here it was a bit more open-ended, and we were able to experiment. This is like an interesting example where. From the beginning, we were testing out expressions and anything that could influence the animation later on, and we wanted to basically do what we did in Sprite Fright, but piggyback off of that technology, like the rigging stuff that we did there, and just make it more extreme. So this is something that we could have done in the movie, but it's kind of interesting that we did all of these tests, and there's many more different experiments that you can see there. You didn't see that in the movie. No. Because the animation and the production of the movie was a bit more, had a tighter deadline. It was a very short production, so in theory you could do all these things with a rig, but we didn't have time to actually put it in the movie.
So did you end up like sculpting for individual shots, or like did you? How was it? How was the handoff to the animators? Did they have the freedom to sculpt, or you?
That's the interesting thing. This time with the production, there was an add-on that the animators used to actually sculpt on the characters while animating. So once they animated the shots, they had the opportunity to sculpt additional shape keys on top of it. So if they wanted to fine tweak something, there was the possibility. But yeah, I think that was it's still like pretty early, that add-on. I don't think it worked that flawlessly, but it's something that would be fun to pursue more.
How did in a nutshell, how did it work? Was it like did you have to make the characters local, or was it new mesh, like on the technical side? Do you know?
Geometry nodes.
Geometry nodes.
Yeah, I mean, so it's
like
something that Matt and Simon worked on. So like overriding it, or not even, just like with geometry nodes.
That's just the answer to everything.
Yes, exactly. There's so much more as geometry nodes powered now, but
you have to prepare the
exactly. So that was like my main task for the characters, just kind of figuring out what kind of topology do we even need for this? Because the facial expressions are insane. These are the most extreme expressions and deformations that we did in an open movie so far, I think. In the rigging, there was also some new techniques cooked up just to make this even possible. But also I wasn't the only one sculpting on the characters this time. Vivian was also helping out and doing the initial concepting, also in 3D and 2D. So there was a lot more back and forth constantly going on with draw overs, paint overs, sculpting again, then painting again. So that made it quite fast to figure out the designs and have a bunch of iterations.
And also the assets, I guess.
Yeah.
All the assets and.
I mean, the assets are, in terms of the modeling, intentionally kept pretty simple, but it was still interesting even figuring out how simple, how complex it was meant to be.
How chunkified
yeah.
also. And another character, which is the spaceship. And all the pieces. How did it work? Did you have to model everything? Did you animate it? Did you rig it? Did you at what point?
Yeah, that's something that like Bo spent so much time on the spaceship.
Yeah.
I was like mostly just like helping out with all the little props around it and all the little all the robot arms that come out of the spaceship, and those were those were fairly simple. That's like one of the like last things that I actually did for the project at first, and then I jumped off and went to the next project, Project Gold, which is going on right now.
Yeah.
But then it became a bit awkward because we had two movie projects going on at the same time, and I was constantly like going back and forth, and had to help out with pets to get it done. But then working on Gold again a bit more, and it became a bit strange. I don't think we ever had like two movie projects going on at the same time.
At the same time, plus the vendor development 4.0, you also been involved in that, so.
Yeah, there was a lot going on. And then with the sets, the interesting thing is there's a lot of matte paintings this time around. This is like fully 3D with like a bunch of toony shading, but the clouds, once they exit the barn, we had to have a lot of matte paintings, and they're not like a single painting in the background. A lot of shots had to have a very different setup. So sometimes it's divided into many different like background planes that are animated at different speeds, and just figuring out that workflow of how we can how I can set up the matte painting environment and the assets for that, and then have Vivian actually go in and actually paint the skies.
Wow.
That was a bit tricky.
Did you use the asset browser for this?
I think so, yeah. This was using the asset browser for scattering environment assets, but also we used the asset browser just for the characters and for, of course, the pose library.
Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
The next video, that's like an interesting example of, yes.
Thing is that the videos are not playing really well today. We have an issue.
Okay. But yeah, this is interesting because like we had like this layout version with all these like popcorn clouds everywhere, but we had to somehow convert this into something that can be painted. So I just made like this dome, this half sphere, and projected the layout onto it from the camera. You can see like the individual little steps of the rocket on the background, and that is then the texture that was painted by Vivian. So the next video shows just the how it then looks like in the movie, or almost. This was a work in progress version, and then in the final version, like you see like a bunch of different cloud environments, and it's all painted.
All painted.
All painted.
Did you try to do it in 3D first, or just straight to paint?
There's a bit. It's just straight to paint. Just everything was basically painted in Krita, but there was a bit of touch up and like morphing the geometry and the textures then in 3D just to make the placement just right. So yeah, there was a lot of back and forth between 3D and 2D constantly.
Nice.
Yeah. And
awesome.
That was basically it.
Well, thank you. I think I'm ready to start asking the next guest about rigging, maybe. So
okay, I will let the next person sit.
Thank you. All right. So our next guest comes all the way from the couch.
All the way.
All the way from the couch. I'm gonna close this over here. I'm gonna switch full screen. Hello. How are you? Here we have our rigging department.
That's me. Hello.
How again a familiar face that you've streamed in the past as well, even in Blender Studio, right?
Yeah, it's true. In fact, I think I probably would have done that a little bit more because sometimes I get in a streaming mood, but the technology is not always available.
Yeah. So as you can see,
We're working on that.
yeah, we are. Well, let's not talk about technology today. It's maybe not the best. But it's not your first open movie project. Which one was your first?
First one was Coffee Run.
Coffee Run.
Yeah. Or even before, if you count Rain, not an open movie, but a project.
But that's Rain is where the Cloud Rig came. Right?
No, Rain is where I realized that I need Cloud Rig.
All right, and that's when you made Cloud Rig based on Rigify.
The mic is miles away from me. Should I bring it?
No, that microphone is just for the show.
Oh, okay.
We tried, but it sounds.
Oh, okay. So it's this one that I'm supposed to.
This is the one that you will be talking to. So you have a folder we're going to see.
Oh, I didn't put anything in there. All my stuff is on the website.
Oh,
Is that fine?
I like that. I like that because you can actually go and see
Yeah,
it.
so on studio.blender.org, the stuff that I want to show you guys today is that we are releasing the character rigs, which in this case kind of includes some sets. So there you go, we have the cat, the dog, and each of them also have some shots as well.
Even some shots. Do you want
Yeah.
me to show the shots?
Yeah, in a sec if you can open one of the characters.
Oh, so if I go.
Do the dog because it has the most. It has 4 of them. If you scroll down a bit. So again, this is for our studio website subscribers. You can get the character rig, slightly cleaned up version of it from the production, and then those shots are pretty much production shots with the production version of the character. Everything made local. You can just download it and mess around. Actually, one of the shots is free. Maybe it's this.
No, this says login to
Okay.
download.
Shit, I should have remembered which one is free, but one of the shots is free. And so yeah, there's 2 for the cat as well, and then there's the chicken and the rockets and the barn, which is the final, like, it's not quite characters. Well, the chicken is a character, and I would argue the rocket is a character. But you get the idea. So you can get all of the major assets from this production.
What Blender do I need to use for this?
Right, so because 4.0 is going to be a huge compatibility break for a lot of things, this stuff is only going to work on 3.6, so don't try on 4.0. And in fact, some things we might have used some things that are only available in 3.6 and are not in 3.5 yet, so I would recommend specifically 3.6, which is the
3.6.
current version. So
And it's an LTS, so it's good
yeah.
for 2 years.
yeah, exactly.
And in terms of, is it heavy? Can I use it on my potato?
I think so. I mean, okay, so the lighting files, which are the ones that we uploaded, so these are the files that have absolutely everything in them.
Yeah.
If you know your way around Blender, if you enable Simplify to turn the subdivs off, I don't guarantee that it's going to run at 60 frames on your potato. But if you have a mid-range PC, you should be able to play back at some reasonable frame rate, like maybe 20 frames. If you have a good PC, it should play back at full 24. So yeah, I would say it's not light, but it's not like broken levels of heavy either.
That just like the light that just turned off on us.
Yeah.
What this? I want to talk about the rigs.
Okay.
Because you had to rig all this, the characters and the assets too.
Yeah, the assets too. I would say most of the assets, like the props, are not that complex. I mean, the rocket does have some bits and pieces that are a bit complicated, but most of the props I would say are fairly straightforward. The chicken is also very straightforward. I can actually recommend, if you're a beginner, like the thing is, if you're a beginner and you try messing around with the cat and the dog, you might have a bit of a rough time because, like, unlike something like Rain or Snow characters, these characters were not made for beginner friendliness. These characters are made for production. So they are pretty in-depth and have a lot of advanced features going on. But if you just want to mess around with a cute little animal, the chicken is very simple. Doesn't get much simpler than the chicken. So
yeah, do you think
can
it's a good
recommend it.
example for people to learn animation?
For sure, yeah. If you don't mind animating a chicken, which I think this chicken can have a lot of personality with very minimal effort from the opposing side.
Absolutely.
So it's totally fun. I didn't think I would promote the chicken this much today, but there you go.
Which one are you most proud? Which rig?
In terms of final result,
If you had to have a portfolio, like you have to look for a job.
the main ones. The cat was actually harder, I would say, but I would probably choose to show off the dog because it's a bigger mouth and looks more impressive. But the reason the cat was trickier is because from some angles, it has a snout, I guess you could call it, like the mouth protrudes a little bit.
Yeah.
And that made it a bit of a nightmare, not so much for me, but more so for the animators. So, because, sometimes you want to have that snout, and sometimes you want the cat's face to be flat. I think actually most of the times we ended up having the cat's face flat in the movie,
Yeah.
even though that's not how it was modeled. So the animators had to squash the face all the time. But anyways, one more thing
Yes.
is if you go to films and then Ring It, where you see all the asset list, there is also currently a pack of the entire production, which is not as clean as the characters or the shots that are at the very bottom. You see shot production files. So here's a list of all the 10 shots that are also referenced. Oh yeah, and you see the free one there.
The one
So it
that is-
should be
yeah.
free. Oh, okay. Okay, I think it's a bug that in the characters webpage it doesn't show it as free, so I will poke or check on that. I think
Yeah.
that's
Or
something I can
let
fix.
me know.
Yeah, but so from this, if you click onto that thing from here, then it should be free. And here's also the full production repository, which, again, this is the state of the files as they were when we were done. So it can be a bit rough, and I might try to clean it up at some point. But for now, this is what it is. This you can kind of dive into if you're curious, but don't expect it to be beautiful and clean. This is
But
proper
this is the real
production.
deal. This
This
is what
is-
people like. What you guys have to.
This
deal
is
with.
the real nightmare that we live in, yes. So if you want to see that, you can go and
a real
have fun.
production
Yeah, exactly.
with library overrides, issues, and
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
if you open the lighting files in this shot in this production repository, then in theory you should be able to re-render what is very close to what we have on YouTube.
the files are really.
The files are small, yeah. I don't know. People always expect these files to be big, but there's no reason to. There's no 10 million polygon sculpts on these characters. They're flat and simple, and their textures are simple as well, and largely procedural.
Yeah.
Because we have Simon, so procedural textures don't take up a lot of space because they're not pixels. So
Do you do any rigging, any geometry nodes magic for?
yeah, actually, so like Julian was mentioning, the faces, although in function and in final aesthetic, are a little bit similar to Sprite Fright in the sense that they kind of have this idea of the facial features, or the lips, are kind of sliding around the silhouette, which is exactly what's happening in Sprite Fright, but it's actually done entirely differently in this production. I would say in a much cleaner and nicer way. And yes, that is with geometry nodes. And I have made a very short video where I try to explain how these rigs work. And as for how you can find that, I think if you go again on the left on the bottom on production lessons, there is a single one, which is my one. Yeah,
Phase rig.
face rig deep-ish dive. Yeah, so I can't go into all
Time to
detail.
go. Time to go.
Oh,
No,
is
no,
it
wait.
over?
This is what pays our actually.
Oh, my
your
salary too.
Yeah, your salary.
So this video
is sponsored by.
is just kind of a surface level touch on how the dog and cat's mouth rig works. That's it.
So check it out. I'm gonna share this link now here as for Blender Studio subscribers.
One more
and
small note. Charge stuff is free now.
charge stuff is free.
Yeah, so the charge characters, the previous open movie, that's free now. That's it.
Following the policy of all
Yeah,
projects
all projects
become available
become
for free as long as the new one.
Yeah, exactly. So if you go on characters, ANR and the security bot and VNR, free for everyone.
Yay! Awesome. Yeah, it says
Oh.
free.
But still,
That's
you
so
should
cool.
subscribe anyways. Please.
Yeah. So these people can make more film.
Yeah.
Well,
that's
thank
how it
you.
happens.
And let's bring the next person. We have a few more guests. Actually, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more guests. So stay tuned. Hello. Let's see. So Okay, that's a good height. This is your microphone, so I'm gonna ask you to please get close to it.
Yeah. Nice and cozy.
You do have a folder with things
Yes.
we can actually look at. Ooh, wow. So
Yes.
what do you also? It's not your first open movie. Which one was your first open movie project?
The Agent,
Agent 327.
officially.
Yes.
Yeah. Last time I was here as well, during charge. So yeah, been here for some time now. It's just super fun.
Yeah.
But for the movie, I was basically mainly creating assets, the rocket, interior and exterior. Yeah, put some videos on. You can open them.
Let's see if we can open. Actually, today I'm having a bit of some issues with
Okay.
with the videos.
Do you need help from
No,
Francesco?
I was just getting if Francesco was nearby.
Okay. Well, yeah. So together with Vivian and Rick, I worked on the rocket exterior, and one of the goals was, of course, it needs to be able to have all of these hatches, all of the tools and the arms coming out. The arms were, by the way, made by Julian, but this was like the very first, pretty much like iteration with some grease pencil on top, so we could, like see how it looked like, which is pretty fun. I never really did it after this, only for the hatches, but it's definitely fun to just, prototype and develop it. Yeah.
Because you have to model and
Yeah.
rig at the same time, kind of, right? You have to like see it close and open all. the
Yeah, exactly. You have to experiment a bit, which is kind of interesting because that's what we did with the improvised wings. It was like first had to determine the animation side of it, and then the modeling. So it was like a continuous loop, feedback loop, informing each other. So that's kind of how we developed the wings. So yeah, if you select the next one, just
Well, we
just an
actually have
image.
a picture.
The rest should be all videos. Oh, there's one more. But yeah, this is like a really simple version of like the wings. So this is a base for Vivian to draw over, and we did this a lot. So like I modeled it, and then she drew over it, and that way it informed the modeling. So it's kind of I think the most common methods, I would say,
Yeah.
of doing it, especially for like a 3D animation is for a 2D show. So
We have some baby action in the background.
yeah.
Can I? Can you help? Yes. Take it somewhere else. Yes. Thank you. Trying to help with the sound
Yeah,
here.
makes sense.
What are we looking at? By the way?
Yeah, so this is the thing I mentioned first. Well, this was actually after a new concept Vivian, where I mocked up these wings, and this is not rigged. It's like with empty, so it's very cheap and fast.
Yeah.
That's the way you should keep it in modeling, I would say. And yeah, it was made of all these metallic, panels and pieces of fabric and umbrella. And it had like this fishing rod, so all of these elements were quite fun, but we weren't really there yet. It was a bit too much at this stage.
Yeah.
Let me see what this version is. Yeah, so this was another iteration, a bit more simplified, but more detailed in the metallic bits. So it was very detailed, and yeah, this version was what I mentioned previously. This was like almost like an armature, so a very basic setup of the 3D model and focus more on the movement. Eventually we learned that after this animation I animated this really crappily. By the way, I'm not an animator, but it informed us a bit more about the design. Very small iterations.
Did you have to do some research on birds? Like how do they?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, Vivian did the heavy lifting on that part, but and Rick also, by the way, did a lot of drawovers. This is close to the final rocket in terms of like style. You can see the hatches already. They're not like final, but it's a bit more towards the final result. Especially the windshield shape here is already like set, which was also I didn't add it into the directory, but a very specific shape to it. Yeah, this one was about the tires, and believe it or not, every aspect of the rocket exterior was had at least a couple of drawovers just to have had the exact shape.
Wow.
So it's some time was spent on this, but it was really fun doing this
It's
with
like
Vivian as well.
the balance between 2D and 3D must be interesting, right? Like how
Yeah,
to-
yeah. For instance, this one is 3 different poses, and based on this simple mock-up, we were able to. I think I'm not sure if Vivian showed you this image as well with the drawer, but this informed her a lot about the dimensionality of the wings and what kind of areas there are, like the gigantic umbrella pieces and metallic pieces.
Nice. We have
You can just show a couple more. This is close to the final result. I think almost the final result. I don't know really what to say. It's a very small step. Yeah. So this one is with grease pencil as well. So the red lines are like just panels,
Yeah.
and the black ones are the hatches. And since I don't know if anyone noticed, but we only see the rocket from the right side. So we don't need hatches from the left side of the rocket, right? So
yeah.
knowing these things saves time. So for modeling.
Was it heavy in the end? The model itself, the character was gonna say. Well, it's a character.
It's a character anyway.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's a pretty lightweight model, excluding the outline rendering, of course. If you disable that, then it's completely fine.
But the outline rendering is all geometry now, right?
Yeah, exactly. But you can turn it on in the viewport, so don't do that. But it should be quite lightweight. So yeah.
And there is grease pencil in the end. Grease
Yes,
pencil objects.
there are, yeah, definitely.
Oh, even the interior.
Yeah, so this was for the moment where all the panels are already ripped off. You can see the wires, and we wanted to keep it quite simple with every aspect modeling because the texture should be carrying the higher detail. So
Yeah.
that's something we established beforehand.
Nice.
Yeah.
What's next for you actually? What are the next open movie project? You're already working on it? Are you taking a break? You're working on content or
well, I'm working on Gold right now with the team, and we're researching a bit more about the environmental assets, so like rocks and underwater plants and life a bit. So I'm trying to create a setup where we could generate rocks and then stack them on top of each other. So I'm not sure if I can pull it off, but I'll just do a study first with modeling, like how do you make that, and try to translate it into geometry nodes. So and I'll probably also be working on the next figurine at some point.
next figurine?
Next
By the
figurine.
way, which if you're a Blender Studio subscriber, you get 25% off with your
That's true.
subscription. So yeah,
That's right.
another
Okay.
reason to join. Well, thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you, Pablo.
Thank you.
Time for another Pablo.
Time for another Pablo. All right, so we switch.
Hello.
There is a requirement that if you work at Blender and speak Spanish, you must be called Pablo.
Otherwise, you are fired.
You are, yes.
Or you have to change your name.
Exactly. So we have some technical issues showing videos. How many videos do you have? You have one?
I have one. I have some.
All right.
How many do you want to?
First of all, welcome.
Hey, thank you very much
Nice
for
to see
having me. Yeah.
It's not your first open movie project either. How many? Which one was the first? Agents?
Spring and the last part of the alternative agent.
The alternative
Ending.
ending to the Agent 327, and then Spring,
Spring.
the dog, maybe.
Mhm.
Yeah. What was that? What was it?
Oh,
You get
bring
PTSD.
me- Yeah, totally. I don't want to talk about dogs anymore.
We don't say that.
Oh, look at that dog. First of all, thanks to Macbo. He was helping us doing animation. Thanks a lot. This one is his test. He did this test for animation style on the dog,
Yeah.
and kind of this was like the most push test we did until that moment. So it show us like how far we could push stuff. So thanks to him
a
and for
test by
all,
Macbo,
yeah, and thanks for all the work he did. It was awesome to have you. I see that he's in the chat, so
Is he? Hey, Marco.
thank you very much for everything. You know we love you.
He's here in the chat.
Yes.
Hey. Awesome. Yes, sorry.
So yeah, I wanted to just show that he did awesome stuff.
Nice.
Now to the boring stuff.
Now
I
to
did.
the boring stuff. Okay, so what? You have a bunch of folders. 17 folders.
Yeah, I know. I just put all my shots there, and I mean, we don't have to show everything. We can just like go to some of the shots, like for example, like 40, 50 is like when he's like when he's like doing like touching the buttons, the cat. I wanted to show a bit like the different versions of what. I mean, the process of the animation.
This is the first one.
This is like the first one. I don't know. I don't really know if this one was layout or I think I posted this already. I'm not really sure. But yeah, this is basically what we start to have in the first version, and later you check like second one, something like that. You know, this like already there is some more intention in there. Some the dog is still the same, but like the cat is already being worked. Here I added some grease pencil already because it was like, we want to have like the reference already of how fast the arms they were moving. So
do you do it just for reference, or is it the final thing that you?
This one was gonna be final also because like we keep it because we liked how it was gonna look. But yeah, basically sometimes we were adding grease pencil and then we were like, how does it look? And then if it was okay, then we were keeping it. Otherwise, we were deleting it if it was not needed.
How about the drop this one? Do you also do it
Yeah,
yourself in grease pencil?
Yeah, it's a grease pencil animation of the drop growing. So yeah, it's just how I did it. I constrain grease pencil stroke to the head, and then like this is following the head all the time. So yeah, and then this last version a bit we had some small changes on animation at the end, so he was looking up, but yeah, like having some fun. This is the layout version. You see.
This is the very first one.
This is like this is the reference I had. It was the layout, and then I did the other thing.
So
from here to this. And then we had to animate all the background, you know, all the small elements. Everything has like some animation, the things in the background, everything animated.
How long do you think in total would take you to animate this?
I mean, it's difficult to estimate because it was depending on the feedback. If you were nailing the idea at the beginning, it was like kind of easy. Like maybe you could have this in 3 days, 4 days. If you needed to,
if the riggings are not changing.
Yeah, or if stuff is not breaking. But otherwise, like if it was one idea, it was changing, then it was. I mean, of course, it's been longer. So yeah, but 3 days, something like that.
Good. Do you want to show another shot?
Yeah, we can continue. Like this, the next one that is like yes.
Layout.
Just the layout.
Very detailed.
Yeah, and the face of the cat is amazing. It was like in this one, for example, we tried different stuff, like pushing the cat to the back. So first we had this idea of he being rolling in circles, like the next version. We tried to roll him like in a different direction, in different axes.
Yeah.
And later, the next one, we decided to rotate it in another axis. And the problem, like with the hook, it was looking a bit weird. So we tried another thing of like he waving the arms and starting to rotate, but it wasn't working. So all these things takes time to do.
Like another beat.
Yeah, and then this one it was like how it ended up being, keeping it more simple because with the other shot in the continuity, it was working better to have something like this.
And it has more time to read the actual expression, right?
Yeah, that's it. So this is the last. Also animated the airbag with some. We need to do some shape keys, some sculpting on the airbag to make it feel like it was going under him and pushing him out.
Did the timing for the lights, is that something animators animate or
the timing of the shot, you mean?
Yeah, like the lights.
The lights. Yeah, the lights. We knew that it was gonna be blinking. So keeping it consistent, that Rick did, it was like he exported all the sequence, and then he put a red dot where the light is supposed to be blinking, like outside of the video. So like this, we knew that every 7 frames it was blinking, even though they were like different shots. You could see where the mark was hitting, and then you were animating the light on that. So
I just want to see some other, like, compare.
yeah, this one was
layout.
like already kind of pretty close. Still, it was like some animation done there.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like a lot. Layout.
Yeah, some grid pencil, and this part it was the most complex of constraints going on because you have to constrain a lot of things.
Objects to
Yeah.
objects. And damn.
So yeah, I mean you have something that most of the time is like a placeholder, and just mostly for I use the layout mostly to know where the characters they need to be, and then I just make it good.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. I could continue seeing this for hours. So
Yeah.
But well,
They are kicking me out, so
We can actually see your files on the studio website. Somebody
Yes.
was asking there is like, are they going to release the files? They are already released. If you go to studio.blender.org/characters, you'll find all the characters, including the chicken. Which one was your favorite to animate?
dog, because
Dog?
the cat, the facial was a nightmare.
Yeah. We can actually see that in the production logs. You can see the joy,
Yes.
the joy of animation.
Also, I have some tutorials that are going to come out.
Really?
Yeah.
Animation. What exactly? Do you know?
I'm explaining some shots also with the versions and going more detail of what I did in each version, and then I did some live animating from 2D to animation on the character. That will be soon finished out. I put in much effort on that, so please,
Please subscribe.
or at least see them, please.
At least see them. Yeah. Send
Yes.
it to someone.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for dropping by.
Yeah, thank you.
See you around.
Bye bye.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Hasta luego. We have our next guest. Also another familiar face.
Hello.
So I've been asking to everybody here, like, what was your first open movie project? Well, it's an easy answer because it was the first open movie project.
Nobody remembers anymore. It's a different time, the dark time,
Is that
before the interface remodel and everything.
Before Filmic, before Cycles, before
Anything.
anything.
Yeah.
So yes, Andy Goralczyk here in the house.
How are you doing?
Thank you. Nobody asks that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, I'm good actually. I'm much
Cool.
more alive than I thought I would be. I think we tried to solve the issues of the sound by we have to speak to this microphone.
Yeah.
We're gonna say some images and videos. If it's images, even better. And
I just have videos this time.
what was your goal? Or your role in this project? Because you've been directing, art directing, modeling, VFXing. What was it here? You were actually working in another project before, right?
Yeah, this was fun because this charge was right before this, and the two projects are very similar in that they use Eevee for rendering, but they're completely different in style. So it's even though it's the same render engine, same blender.
Yeah, I actually wanted to ask that. This is Eevee.
This is all Eevee. Yeah.
Only Eevee.
It's only Eevee. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because with Tycos, maybe you can like the preview is better. Like what was the choice to go with Eevee?
It was mainly for you have to ask him on that but it was mainly for the way to manipulate normals, because when you're doing NPR shading, you're dealing with a lot of more normal manipulation because you have to make things flatter than they are when you have a normal NPR rendered film. And then for that, at that time, Eevee was the most flexible choice because you can bend normals to like extreme angles or so. But we're working for the next project, of course, towards getting that to render in cycles.
Oh.
So and that will enable us to do more crazy things. But for this one, we used Eevee. It was great because it enabled us to see in the viewport what we were working on, and also have really fast rendering times.
Nice.
So back to your question. So I worked on lighting mostly, and getting the stuff that the animators came up with, which is insanely cool, to show up on the screen and look like a 2D animated movie, which we haven't really done that often before. So we did it in a way that we kind of treated backgrounds and characters separately. So it's almost like you have a background painting and then the characters sit on top of that, like a cell animation. So for background lights, we use kind of a traditional lighting sort of workflow. We didn't have a lot of shadow casting. There was only a select number of objects that were actually casting shadows, and we were using sharp shadows for most of the time. And then the characters, on the other hand, are complete shader madness by Simon. He's going to talk about this. But we had separate control over that. So what you can see here is our lighting rig. And every character had these controls that we could, define which which angle that light would come from, all sorts of parameters, softness, and different things.
Like filling up a form.
Yeah, that was the thing. Like it became less intuitive, like placing lights everywhere. But you fill in values more, and after a while you get used to it because your brain has to kind of switch over, and you find a way to get the image. That's the main thing. And the concept art from Vivian and the art direction was amazing. So it was easy because you only had to do what was there already, and tweaking some values and putting it all together.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow, and it even looked like snow almost.
yeah. That was the rim light outline. So there were several things. There was the cell shading. There was the rim light. That we could add and blend in from different angles to get to, and these are the controls that work in all the shots. So they have to do a multitude of things over the 7 different scenes that we have.
And on top of this, there is grease pencil?
On top of this, there's grease pencil that the animators provide. So for Sprite Fright, we actually did kind of a similar thing. But for there, we had to convert everything back to meshes. And since we're using Eevee for this project, we were able to just render the grease pencil objects directly in camera. But we had so many different things that we split the whole scene up into multiple passes. So here you can see the grease pencil layer. And most of the time, we actually took what the animators gave us and then we made it local. And we tweaked the colors to what we would see in the final render, because you need to adjust certain things, and you also have to sometimes need to change a value or push something.
And then compositing on top of that.
Exactly. So the compositing is kind of crucial on this project because we have the environment, we have the characters, we have outlines that are generated by geometry nodes, custom by Simon. Super cool, very powerful, and it's copying the shader information directly from the shaders of the object that they belong to. So super amazing setup, and all these different passes need to come together. The only way to do that is in the compositor, but with that you get maximum flexibility for how everything looked like. So for the characters, we outputted all sorts of passes, like I think basically every pass there is, and then we combined them and we stylized the diffusion pass so it would look a little bit more painterly, and that was the reason why we did it. And on top of that, we do kind of a depth color blend, which enables us to make the background kind of a little bit more foggy, but instead we're blending it to a certain color, which helps us to separate the characters from the background. That's one of the requirements.
So I guess it wasn't a real-time compositor. It was just one regular compositor.
Yeah, just render and then wait a minute because it's TV. So and
how long was the render time? From average?
On average, 1 minute per frame.
Full HD?
Full HD with all the samples that you need. And and there's actually a feature that Clément Foucault made for us, which enabled it to render much faster, because you see these like the glass window there.
Yeah.
The gradient on it, for whatever reason before that, we had to use alpha hashed to get to get it also to get the fidelity to work out. And actually to separate the right pass, because alpha blend at that time didn't work on any of the passes that we had in the compositor. So what he did was make a special transparency pass with the alpha blend in it that we could just plonk on everything, and so that saved, I think, like 5 minutes of rendering time, because we didn't have to use 500 samples.
Yeah, 5 minutes is a lot. Per frame. Per frame.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So, amazing. It's like completely different from everything that we worked on in the past, and it's also different from what's coming.
Absolutely, yeah.
You're already working. You were actually working already on Gold when you were.
Exactly. Yeah, we were. I think there was a seamless transition almost from Charge to Wing It, and then now Gold, and
completely different projects.
But not really, because a lot of the methods behind Wing It we're gonna use in Gold in one way or another. So the fact that we do have, because Gold is gonna be very painterly, NPR, very kind of in an oil painting style, and but so you also need to manipulate normals in a certain way. You also need to paint over your shot, and you also need to separate the shot into passes to get full control over everything, and you also have to hit the concept art in the right way. So you have to hit the colors exactly and get it to feel like the concept art.
But this time it's gonna be?
It's gonna be cycles, of course.
And there is light?
There's light linking,
light linking.
So good. Yeah.
One of the requirements. Probably we're gonna make this much easier. Also, maybe helps with the compositor and the viewport.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We don't have passes there yet.
Well,
we don't have render layers.
They're gonna work on it. Yeah. They're gonna work on it. Yeah. That was also one of the requirements for using the real-time compositor, because we want to merge things together and actually see it in the viewport. And
so render layers in the viewport.
Yeah. Yeah. And especially having with the control of all the collections and visibility and exclusion also, like seeing that stuff come together in real time is so much more intuitive than ticking a couple of check boxes here and there.
Absolutely. What can you, if you want to see your work, or like a good example of the compositor or the lighting, do you have a file that you think it's like a good example?
There is 2130, which is one of the most fun shots I worked on. Well, I worked on
130.
Yeah, 130. Yeah, that one's even free.
Yeah.
And that's the shot where the dog goes like. And it has many different passes. It has grease pencil in it. It has all things. So it's the entire package.
And only 50 minutes, and it's free. So
yeah, check it out.
Please.
Yeah, and tell us what you think.
Yeah, or share it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Did I miss anything?
No, that's fine. Yeah. Cool. Thank you so much for bringing me in.
No,
yeah.
Please.
All right.
We have one more guest.
All right, one
more guest. So one more thing.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Now we have another guest also related to shading, but and lighting and everything, but actually more shading. Also a familiar face from the Blender Studio website training from Blender, from this channel, actually also showing how hair and geometry nodes and everything works. Welcome, Simon.
Thank you.
You're our last guest,
Yeah,
it's a build-up. Now this is like
Yeah, I mean, logically, we could have gone before Andy because he's like the one wrapping up the pipeline with the comp and everything. But
This is the microphone, so
I'll
maybe you
scoot
can
in a little
slide
bit.
it closer. So it was a bit crazy when I learned that these lines are not like line art. It's not grease pencil.
So you were expecting it to be line art.
Yeah, when you see lines and we have line art, you
Right.
say, oh, it's line art.
It's a
But
logical
actually-
connection.
Yes, but I heard it's not.
Yes, I can show a little bit of how it actually works.
Do you have any of these videos?
Yeah, that's exactly. If you start the first video, and they can see it right now, right?
They can, yes. This is the.
So here I'm showing a little bit. So this is like one of the shots that you can also download. And now I switched it into diffuse color. So this is without lighting. And you can already see there are some lighting effects going on, like some cell shading and stuff. And it's all just faked in the shader. And here, let me just pause.
I'm sorry.
Can I pause?
Yeah.
Go back a little bit. That's too much. Yeah, if you orbit around, you can see that there are these lines on the character, which don't make any sense from this camera angle, but that's actually the outlines that you can see if you go into the actual camera of the shot. And it's all in the shader itself. So what I decided to do for this production was to use geometry nodes, of course.
Yeah.
To
Of course. What else?
yeah, to identify basically where there should be outlines based on the camera angle and the mesh, and then pass that information into the shader to generate the actual look of the outlines as part of the shader itself. So here I'm showing some of the base maps that make that up, and this is generated by geometry nodes. It's like a distance map from some outlines that I'm generating in GeoNodes. Some additional like technical information to see like what the angle of the surface is in the camera space, and then I'm using that inside the shader to go from like a base color, so this is like just the initial step, and use the distance map to generate lines. So this is all just different steps in the shader that I'm going through. And then using the directional information on top of the distance information, we're creating fake rim lights, which are very easy to control and independent of the actual light sources. I think Andy showed some of the setup that we had to control those things in the viewport.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about this is it was really responsive because all the information is already generated by geometry nodes. And then you can just drag a slider, and because everything is just happening in the shader.
Did you just land into this answer, or how was the process? What did you try first with line art? Or
Yeah, I mean, we did try line art. The thing is, early on I was very much against doing any kind of outlines because I know it's always going to be a mess.
Yeah.
And I mean, there is line art, but the big issue that we had with it is we wanted the outlines to feel very much part of the character. So we wanted to have like the proper lighting and rendering as the surface of the character has on the outlines themselves as well, and have them like drawn inside of the silhouette of the shapes of the character as well. And you cannot really do that with line art, especially if you want to color them properly. And another thing that we could have done would be to just do it in comp, but then you lose the interactivity of while you're doing lighting, because the real-time compositor, unfortunately, at this point, when we were in that pipeline, was missing some of the things that we would need to do that in comp.
Also, this can be seen by the animators, right? And they can.
Yeah, exactly. It's much nicer if you actually, while you're working on something, can see how it's going to look, because that makes iteration much quicker. If you have to render everything, like the whole sequence, every time you change something, it's
Did you, because you're also part of the team that develops geometry nodes,
Yeah.
did you have to develop anything in particular for this project?
For this project in general, I don't think there was like a big feature. I mean, I'm always like talking to the guys that are actually working on the feature side, so whenever there was like a small thing that I think would help, I just tell them about it, and if they think they can fit it into the schedule, it's made it into Blender. But no like big target. One thing that we used on here, on Wing It, was the simulation nodes. That was like the big thing, but only like in a few shots. Like in the making of end sequence, you can see like this tool of Yeah, these are actually not using simulation nodes.
Oh, we
But
can
the-
pretend. This looks like if you tell me this is simulation nodes, I'm gonna.
Oh, you can throw a few simulation nodes in there. It won't hurt.
What do you use it for? That we can see it. Like
the-
smoke.
Yeah, exactly. For some of the smoke effects. For some of them, I decided, like I tried it with simulation nodes first, and then decided against using it because it was a bit too finicky. And the fact that you can use a tool for something doesn't mean that you should necessarily. Like if there's a simpler way to do it, then just do it the simpler way. But you saw in the end credits, yeah, exactly. This is the kind of setup that I made specifically for pets, and we used it in some of the shots for the smoke effects. Like for example, there's one shot where a fire extinguisher is flying away from the rocket, and that's with the simulation nodes, and then some other shots as well. But yeah, I made like a simulation setup where a 2D curve object is like just warping through space and like growing and whatever, how like a smoke cloud would kind of.
Yeah.
But just like a 2D simulation of that, and then turning it back into 3D after to render it in the same style of the rest. So it gives it kind of a little bit of a unique look because it's kind of this 2D aesthetic that we're going for, and it's not like a realistic simulation or anything.
And all geometry nodes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean 99% of the work that
Can
I've
you imagine
done-
your life before geometry? What was your life before geometry nodes?
I
What
asked myself that sometimes.
what did you
I
use?
can't even
Like
remember.
shape key or everything?
Because it's not that long ago. Like
No, it's 3 years.
3 years exactly.
And there's people working full time on geometry nodes.
yeah.
What were these
crazy.
people doing before in Blender?
I mean, I'm one of those people. I can't tell you.
You did November before, and it was pretty impressive.
It was but it was all shader nodes. Yeah, sure. But even that, I didn't start that long ago either. So no, it's awesome to be able to use geometry nodes to be like really at a very very low level and just have control over everything that you're doing.
Yeah.
It's also one of the reasons why I decided to do this rather than line art, because with line art it's a little bit less extensible because you don't have full control over all the data.
Because geometry, Grace Pencil doesn't support geometry nodes yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if Grease Pencil 3.0 would have been available already when we started pet projects, I would have totally jumped on that and do it with that 100%.
Nice.
And well, I'm excited to be able to use it in the future. So
I heard it's coming to Blender 4.1.
yeah, that's what I heard as well.
That's
You
what I
have to-
heard. Yeah. So looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Simon.
Yeah.
And wait, can we
Thanks for having
expect
me.
any tutorials or documentation
about
regarding
pet projects specifically?
Yeah.
I don't think we.
Or the things that you did, or maybe.
Yeah, I mean, so one thing that I'm working on now is to make another chapter to the course that I have about geometry nodes on our studio platform, about simulation nodes, because I already have some material that I can use for that, and then I just need to.
Which one? Geometry nodes from scratch.
Yes, exactly that one.
Simulation nodes, the repeat zone, maybe eventually.
Yeah,
Repeat.
when it's there. So for now, simulation nodes, I'm working on adding another chapter to that, because right now it's like the idea is to keep it very much based on making people understand how the system works, and then iterating a little bit over it with practical use cases, and yeah, just giving people insight in how something works. This is from I think Blender version 3.1.
Yeah.
Since then, a lot of things have changed, but nothing really fundamentally until simulation nodes.
So the
that's why
fundamentals.
it's a natural decision to now say, okay, now something really fundamental has been added, so let's explain how it works, and then people can use it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think we have maybe one more.
Yeah, I think it's just Francesco.
I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get them in. It's what
Yeah, we are perfectly on time.
perfectly on time.
Like
Don't
exactly on schedule. Yeah.
schedule.
Yeah.
We're only half an hour later.
Yeah.
So the whole thing was here.
Yeah.
They shared everything that they did. I think it's enormous project, more than was expected, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like usually it's probably one of the things that we are still trying to learn how to keep this more manageable. But I think we're kind of embracing the fact that it's really hard to do, and what we work on is trying to really share every step, like to try and regularly do it. And especially when you get sucked into the grind of production, it's difficult to do. But for the next film we are doing, we're gonna really try to be even more disciplined and to share even more as we do things.
What I'm very happy about this project in particular is that it was decided to bring back production logs as a product, as a thing that it follows a story and a progress, and it interviews and.
Yeah, it's been good also to have Haru to spend time like a dedicated filmmaker can actually tell the story and show it, so that's free for everyone to see. And then if you want to learn more, then you can go to the website and find out. So
also the entire SVN, so the entire repository of the film has been shared again for this project,
which is great. You just download, it's like a few gigabytes, and then you can just open production files. And of course it's not like it's really the production files, so they have like weird messages. Sometimes things don't look exactly how you would expect, but then you press the render button and then you can actually render frames from the film just the same way we render them here. And I think that's very cool because it gives you a realistic view at how you put together files.
How it's put together and the pipeline behind this project.
Yeah.
So this is another product that came out of more recent projects, right? Like how could you at home build a studio like Pipeline, the one we use here at home, or your own?
Yeah, and that's like really a thing that we keep investing in, and also for the next projects we keep investing in to really document and explain and provide reference material for how you can literally copy paste the pipeline that the studio has and to use it for your own studio. And I really wish to see more up and coming studios to use this as a reference, or really adopt it entirely for building the infrastructure that is needed instead of redesigning or refiguring out everything from scratch by yourself like it usually happens. Because very often it's not about big studios that have already their own pipeline or they have already their own workflows to adopt Blender, and especially a pipeline. They probably already have it. It's more about new people, new teams, new projects, and that's what we do it for. And then you can really take full advantage of having a 100% Blender-centric pipeline. And we really do our best to document this and make it available on the studio website as well. Yeah.
So with that nice note, I think we can
wrap. I want to thank you, Pablo, for taking the time to speak with everyone and to staying with us and sharing everything and putting together this live stream. And thank you all for watching and for joining us today. And go watch the movie a bunch of times. Join the studio website and help us make more movies. And see you in the next streams and in the next videos.
Yes, please share it. Go check to find the link and share it. Let's see how many. What's your expectations? Monday?
Monday? What happens?
Yeah, in 1 week. How many views?
More than
100,000.
Yeah, 150,000. Yeah, well, for sure. Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
I'm gonna play it 50,000 times at least.
All right. Thank you. Bye bye.
Hey, you're in the big screen.
Wave.
Bye.